Just one day after the Trump administration downplayed the importance of elite Yemen war group chat, more messages became public and they contain highly sensitive, specific details about military launches on Houthi rebels. The new release has raised important security questions. For more on the fallout from Signalgate and more specifically the app itself, I'm joined by Liz Miller, Vice President and Principal Analyst at Constellation Research. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on the program tonight. Now, Signal is an app that many Americans may not be all that familiar with, given that it had about 70 million users in 2024, but its popularity has surged this year. Why?
I think we have more American consumers who are looking for apps that are focused on their security and their privacy. Foundationally, Signal really looks to encrypt messages end to end. That means Signal as an organization doesn't store any message, any file, any image. They have disappearing messages. They have really put privacy and security at the center of their very organization, not just with their encryption, but they really aren't owned by any corporation. They are an open source platform. So they have really focused on ensuring that your messages stay on your phone and within that group and within the people that you would like to be communicating with.
So in the case of what's happened at the White House, where does that put Signal as a company and its credibility in terms of the things you speak of? Can it be hacked? How easily can people have access to some of these chats?
Such a great question. I think there are two things at play here and two really big questions that anyone that finds themselves asking about security and privacy should be thinking about when it comes to Signal, including those folks at the White House. It really becomes an issue that Signal, yes, likely can be hacked. I think all solutions and all programs can be. And there have been recent reports that have said that there are some potential vulnerabilities when it comes to Signal. It is, of course, an open source solution. So unless you are really diving deep into all of the assets that might be in that open source code, you don't necessarily know if there is a deeply hidden vulnerability that could be exploited. So that's always something that you're going to want to ask about. The other issue is sometimes user error can lead to inadvertent accidents. That I think is really what we're dealing with in this situation, at least from all the news reports that have come out. But what we also have to talk about is that devices that these applications are on are not inherently secure themselves. So no matter how secure your application is, if your phone, if your device itself is not secure, we have a very different conversation at hand.
Right. Well, and given this is a business show, we'd love to know a little bit more about Signal's background as a company and who owns it and how much is it worth?
Well, I'm not sure about how much it's worth. I know it costs a lot to operate. So the interesting thing about Signal is it's actually owned by a nonprofit. So the Signal Foundation actually owns the application Signal. It is based on an open source code that has actually been started by two of probably the biggest names in not only encryption, but encrypted messaging and communication. One name is a little bit odd. I'm just going to say it. It's Moxie Marlinspike. So this is a gentleman who actually is behind WhatsApp and a lot of other, is actually behind a lot of other encrypted solutions. You probably have also heard the name Brian Acton. He is also one of the co-founders of WhatsApp. So you have people who are intensely passionate about protecting communications. These are folks who have written some of the core code and some of the core encryption technologies behind messaging. But the key important part here is it is a nonprofit. Right. This is an organization that has said we will not be part of the surveillance economy.
So what is the company's strategy in the wake of this particular drama then? Are there some lessons to be learned from this situation?
So many, especially for my business colleagues out there, so many lessons to be learned. I think for Signal, the lesson is to continue educating its users and to continue educating the public about what end-to-end encryption means and how to truly start to understand if you are accidentally being part of an organization that does believe in the surveillance economy. Does an organization actually make money from providing you with a free application that gives you encrypted communications? I think the thing for business leaders to ask is, what is happening with this content? What is happening with this communication? Are any of these communications unintentionally bringing in malicious actors, malicious views into our systems and into our infrastructure? It is really time for our CISOs and our Chief Information Security Officers to be having very different conversations about encrypted communications, applications, and the devices on which they're loaded.
All right, we'll leave it there. Liz Miller, so great to get your insight. Thank you.
Thank you so much.